Welcome, everyone, to Rutgers at the voice of college football. We have a great show for you here tonight. I'm here with my fantastic co-host, Gabriel Pickup, and we're going to be talking about the offensive line for Rutgers, the running backs, and the transfer portal, which opens on Wednesday. If you like the show, please hit that like and subscribe button. And, of course, we always welcome your calls and your comments. So, Gabe, let's get right into it. The Rutgers offensive line for 2025. When I was thinking about this, I went back to 2024, and there were some really impressive statistics for Rutgers. Rutgers rushed for 2,279 yards last year, their best in the Big Ten era and most since 2017. Rutgers rushed for 205.8 rushing yards per game, which was fourth in the Big Ten. They were first in the Big Ten with time of possession at 32 minutes, 36 seconds per game. And in the midseason, they were named to the Joe Moore Award honor roll, which, as we all know, goes to the top offensive lines based on toughness, effort, and consistency. And Rutgers had the fourth lowest sack rate per pass play in the Big Ten. And, of course, Tyler Needham and Kawabena Asamoah led their positions in Pro Football Focus overall grades. So that's an impressive resume for the Rutgers offensive line. Now we've got Pat Flaherty back for Rutgers as the offensive line coach. He did an important press conference last week. Why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, so real quick, I just wanted to hit the rewind button on that. You said that we're first in time of possession. Now, there's three things I get out of that. One is that we don't turn the ball over much, even though, we have those stupid throws. We don't turn the ball over much. Two is that we get first downs a lot and we get down the field often. But three, and you got to let me know what you think if I'm just being a Debbie Downer, but does that mean that we lack the big plays?
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean I think that we lack the big plays as much as it means that we're efficient on third down. We're consistently moving the ball down the field. Maybe not as an explosive offense as some other teams, but certainly efficient. And there were some explosive plays, though, this year against teams like USC and Minnesota. So I think it's a balance between both, but that time of possession statistic is really, really important because, we want to keep all those explosive offenses off the field, and we want to make sure we have a balanced attack, which is what that suggests.
Okay. Yeah, just wanted to see what you had to say about that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I guess I would tend to agree. But as for this offensive line, look, Pat Flaherty, our offensive line coach, I think he's done a tremendous job, and he just had that interview a few days ago, or it was a presser rather. So it was a bunch of interviews. This guy has 20 years of NFL coaching experience. And speaking of experience, that's really what he preached. He preached experience. He mentioned losing Holland Pierce is a challenge, but that the crew is ready to step up and be, and I quote, dang good. And I would agree with that. You have Taj White at right tackle, Ty Needham at left tackle. That's sort of what he mentioned. But you know what he said that interested me? He said that Ty Needham might convert to tight end.
Wow. That's very surprising to me.
Very surprising because of how good he is as a blocker on that left side.
Exactly. That makes me wonder, do they have another left tackle who's that impressive?
Yeah, I guess the thing is, we don't have a deep squad. Hey, what's up, Austin? We don't have a deep squad, but what we do have is enough players to try things out. So maybe that's all that he's saying with that is maybe for like certain plays. If we have a 3 tight end set, maybe he'll just be the third tight end. I'm not sure. But yeah, moving on here. What he said, and he kind of said that he is vertically aligned with Coach Greg Schiano. So he has that sort of similar hard-headed approach. But what interested me is that he said that the veteran players are even tougher on the new guys than they are. And, it kind of brings you to like this leadership versus, tough love versus like when does it become bullying? And I think for a football team, unless you have actual bullying allegations like Northwestern had, you can't really call it bullying, right? It's just leadership. And then also,
one thing I'll say about that. Sure. Look, college football, it's a tough sport. The fact that these guys are stepping up in leadership roles and being tough on the new guys means they're setting a culture and a standard that says we want to win and we want to win now. And that's good to hear for Rutgers football.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great thing too. So going back to that vertically aligned thing, it's funny. Pat Flaherty and Coach Greg Schiano, they were actually coaching under some of the same people in the NFL, Dick Anderson and then Joe Paterno. But one thing, and this also interested me. He mentioned that Schiano yells at him sometimes, and I was wondering if this is a standard between coaches. Like that's sort of a takeaway I took from it. It's like, he mentioned it so casually. I'm like, is that actually normal? You see coaches yell at players. Players sometimes get frustrated with other players, but I didn't really think of coaches yelling at each other like that. What do you think?
Well, I think that there's two things to that. I think that head coaches will often be tough on their assistant coaches, especially if they don't think, they're calling the right plays or producing a product on the field that's up to their standards. But they tend to do it in private. However, there are some coaches who are not afraid to publicly admonish their assistant coaches, and we saw that with Nick Saban and Lane Kiffin when Kiffin was there as the offensive coordinator. And there was several videos of that where he's admonishing Kiffin when they were up 38-10 over Western Kentucky and had a bad drive. So I think that they are tough on their assistant coaches because they need a culture and a staff that's going to meet their standards.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. He also mentioned that Shiraka, the offensive coordinator, if there's not blown coverage, if there's a blown block or something consistently wrong, that he'll get the business from him too. And yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. And it's worth noting too that Flaherty says that sometimes when he gets yelled at, he deserves it. So, and I would say he doesn't necessarily deserve it because his he's very credited. He's got a very good line of experience, and our offensive line was actually one of our biggest strengths last year.
Yeah, I think it's a two-way street when it comes to coaches criticizing assistant coaches. The criticism is only as good as the recipient and how they react to that criticism. And it's important to hold everyone, including the head coach, accountable, which is a good thing and creates a winning culture. The second thing is, as an assistant coach or even a head coach, no matter how successful you've been, you always have to have humility and always have to remain grounded and realize, hey, I'm not perfect. I'm always in need of improvement like everyone else. And if you're receptive to that criticism, it can make the relationship between the coaches and the success of the team that much greater.
Well, I would say that Pat Flaherty, he's hard-headed, but he's also super humble. So I think that it doesn't necessarily have to be this or that. I think it goes pretty hand in hand with him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, all these coaches have egos, but I think when it comes down to it, you're not going to be perfect. And someone holding you accountable is actually helping you. They're helping you to really keep striving to be your best and to hold yourself to the kind of standard that's going to maximize the player's chances of being successful on the field.
Yeah, I mean, you'll think that they're arrogant or they're know-it-alls, but they're just preaching what they were taught. So, every piece of knowledge is transferred over from somewhere else, whether it's experience or it's a teacher. So he's going based off of those two things.
Absolutely.
And then, okay, so he said this, and this is an interesting quote, right? We talked about the reason for coming to Rutgers, whether it's part of building back a program, being part of history, being a part of a Cinderella run. But what Flaherty said, and he said this very firmly in his presser, he said, the reason you come to Rutgers University is to play in the Big Ten. So what do you think about that?
I think that's a great statement. It means that they are here to compete, not just to be competitive, but to win the Big Ten with sights set on making a playoff run. And with the additions that they've had in the transfer portal, the winning culture they seem to be establishing, a great staff, and a great head coach, they have the ingredients to do that this year. And as I've always said, in 2026, because you need to set a high standard and make it clear at the outset of any athlete's career in college. Because what you tell them when they first step on that campus is going to set the foundation, is going to establish the DNA of that player. And it seems like what they're doing is valuing high standards, accountability, and consistency and toughness. And those are the ingredients that lead you to develop the intangibles as a player that are going to win that game in the fourth quarter, and they're going to get the first down on 4th and inches.
So you're kind of saying that this is almost run militaristically.
I'm saying I'm old school.
Because that's really what a lot of those characteristics you were describing that's really where they're mostly taught is militarily.
Yeah, I'm old school because there's certain values that persist throughout history as critical ingredients to success. The ability to overcome adversity, to be tough, to react positively and learn from failure, and to really be at your best when you're under difficult conditions, and to have a mindset that's the mindset of a champion. And that stuff comes through only hard work and toughness. And I think that with this new generation of players, it's sorely needed because it'll benefit them not just in the field, but in life.
Well said, brother.
Thank you.
All right. Also, what he said is Ethan reminds him of NFL quarterbacks that he has coached in the system of and that he should do just fine in the NFL. Now, that's a topic we could debate on for however long we want this show to run. I mean, we've talked about Ethan enough. Ethan, come on the show. We want you. We want you bad. Make your presence heard. But moving on from that.
Hold on a second. See,
that's why I wanted to move on because you will have a lot to say about that.
I'm just going to keep it short, but he's not ready yet for the NFL. And that statement I completely disagree with. We're talking about building a winning culture, and then he's saying something like that. He's going to be fine in the NFL. He's not going to be fine in the NFL unless he improves this year. And he has a substantial amount of improvement to make. Now, like I was saying before, the question is, how is he going to react to that criticism? How is he going to react to some of the failures of last year? Is he going to push forward and be even hungrier to win? I think he will be because I think he's got that character. And I look forward to him having a really good season this year. But ready for the NFL? Not just yet. Hold on just a minute.
See, it's funny that you talk about the failures of last year because a lot of people that don't support Rutgers but don't have a vendetta against Rutgers will say that last year was an overall successful year.
Well, that's not a successful year to me because there's a certain standard that should prevail at Rutgers, and 7-5 doesn't cut it.
7-6, if you count
7-6 doesn't cut it.
You count the bowl game, but it's okay.
I'll tell you what cuts it is a national championship. Or when you look at wins and losses, what kinds of wins and losses were they? Were they losses where we played our heart out, left everything on the field, but still lost? If we did that, hey, you're still a champion in my book. But I don't think against Illinois we would say that.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Or Nebraska.
Or Wisconsin.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Here all night. But so Flaherty said he believes that this is an overall more talented squad, and Nick Oliveira got a lot better and is close to playing in games. That was the only name he mentioned as close to playing in Big Ten games. And the new offensive lineman, he describes them as talented, but with a long way to go. But he didn't say it in a super pessimistic way. He just said that that's what every coach would see with this group of players, is that they're super talented. They have a long way to go. And he believed that Nick Oliveira, for example, did come a long way.
Well, one thing I believe in is development. And I'm always willing to give players a chance if they're willing to put in the work and if they make the right choices and decisions to be the best they can be. So let's hope that that's true. Could be an exciting year for Rutgers. It sounds like the vibes coming out of the program are very positive.
Yeah, definitely. And all those numbers you mentioned about last year's offensive line were very positive. And he ended it on a positive note in this presser by saying that he believes this O-line group has an opportunity to be elite. That's a big word to say.
Yeah. The word elite is a special and rare. It's a rare atmosphere to be in. And based on what they did last year, in the top half of the Big Ten in nearly every category and leading the Big Ten in time and possession, this is an offensive line to be reckoned with. And with that receiving core and 3 great running backs, our offense can be explosive this year.
And this ain't no Big East play. This is Big Ten.
No, the Big East doesn't even have football programs, do they?
I don't even know. I know that
Georgetown have a football team.
Maybe they would be a very smart team if they did.
Yes, there'd be a smart team, and they would take losing every single game in a very intelligent manner. Yes.
Yeah. So that's all I got for this Flaherty presser, though.
Excellent. Well, that kind of wraps up our discussion of the offensive line. But from what Gabe has said and from the stats from last year, we're looking like we're going in a positive direction. And the Big Ten, where the games are won? They are won in the trenches. So one half of that equation seems very positive at this point. The other half, which we'll tackle,
Piscataway.
Yes. And one thing we'll tackle one of our upcoming shows is that defensive line. You got to have both, not one half of the equation, but with those transfers and that size and toughness coming out on the defensive line, that bodes well too.
And speaking of transfers, we'll talk about this later, but I don't think that defensive line is done when it comes to transfers just yet.
No, the transfer portal opening up on Wednesday, so we'll talk about that in our last segment about what we're looking for, what we need, and how it can improve Rutgers going into the season. So one thing, let's stay on the offense here.
Yeah.
Turning into our second segment here at Rutgers at the Voice of College Football. Let's talk about those running backs, Gabe, because we've got three talented backs. We've got a transfer coming in from the Florida Atlantic Owls. I'm not sure why they're called the Owls, but hey. C.J. Campbell had a great year for the Florida Atlantic. And then, of course, we've got two returning backs, Antoine Raymond and Jashawn Benjamin. So what's your overall thoughts? I've got some statistics to compare them by. What's your overall thoughts on these players?
So they're all talented. None of them are set apart from the other just yet. You mentioned last week that Antoine Raymond, you had him at number 2 for sleeper. And I do agree with that analysis because, I mean, he had 457 yards on 100 carries, 8 touchdowns as a freshman. He led all Big Ten true freshmen in rushing yards. And, you know, he shined as a backup to what I will call NFL-ready Kyle Monangai.
Okay.
I'm going to say it every week until it happens, Adam.
Okay, well, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Kyle Monangai, and I hope he does make it in the NFL. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for him for a couple reasons, not just his performance on the field, but he's the reason why I'm very high on Antoine Raymond, because Raymond learned behind Kyle Monangai. And like you said, in his freshman year, 100 carries, 457 yards, and 8 touchdowns,
yes,
with a 4.6 yards per carry average. And there's 3 games that stick out to me, 2 of them that were late in the season. One of them, which was the last game. Kansas State, 18 carries for 113 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6.3 yards per average, and a long run of 65 yards. And then against Michigan State, 9 rushes, 71 yards, 7.9 average with 2 touchdowns and a long of 24. And earlier in the season against Akron, he had 17 rushes for 77 yards and a 4 yards per carry average with 1 touchdown and a long of 16. This guy has shown he can play. And I'm high on him. So what do you think about that?
I want to first say shout out to Exploring with Ben and Sam in the chat.
Yes,
I'm not sure
of course.
If I'm talking to Ben or Sam or both. And also I'm curious about the duck emojis. But
Exploring with Ben and Sam, they are at the Oregon Voice of College Football channel. Excellent channel.
Welcome.
Lots of great information. And a very entertaining channel. They're going to be coming to Piscataway next year. I look forward to welcoming them and introducing them to Italian food in the great state of New Jersey.
And when Adam says that we're going to beat Oregon, just know I don't exactly agree with that.
That's why you're wearing a green shirt.
It's just the only clean shirt I have. But
that's
fair.
Back
to Antoine Raymond. So here's my thing, right? We mentioned how he looked Monangai-esque against Kansas State in the Rate Bowl. He's going to start, and it's going to be for multiple seasons, but he's a sophomore this upcoming year. Is he going to be, starting for 3 years with us, or is he going to be starting for 2? OurLads.com, which does depth charts for every team, they actually have C.J. Campbell as our starting running back, and Antoine Raymond as second in command. Samuel Brown, not the first, second, third, or fourth, but the 5th as our third in command, and Jashawn Benjamin as 4th. Now, Jashawn Benjamin is a very, very, very good 4th option if he's actually going to be a 4th option, which is crazy to think about. I mean, we'll still see him in special plays, and unfortunately, injuries will happen, whether it's for a game, a whole season, or just a few plays. He'll be out there. And, he still has another year under his belt too. So he'll be out there again in 2026 too. Samuel Brown, this is his last year of eligibility. Antoine Raymond, though, as a sophomore, he's got potential to be Monangai-esque, not just this upcoming year, but for a Rutgers career.
Yeah, and as far as when you mentioned Sean Benjamin, only 19 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown, but a 5.3 yards per carry average. And against Kansas State, 7 carries for 33 yards and a 4.7 yards per carry average with 1 touchdown and a long of 15. And against Minnesota, best game of the year, 11 carries, 66 yards for a 6 yards per carry average and a long of 20. So this guy's got talent. I think he can be impressive. Now, you've been high on C.J. Campbell, though, apparently.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about this C.J. Campbell.
So there is one last thing I wanted to say about Mr. Raymond, and I think that you would appreciate this. His last quote that he said in this interview is, he has a lot of meat on that bone left, and you are a fan of more meat. So he has more meat potential. Pause. I don't know if that came out weird.
Yes, I don't go to White Castle. You want to know why I don't go to White Castle? There's not enough meat in those little burgers, all right? I go to McDonald's where they have the double quarter pounder. That's what we need at Rutgers. And if we have an elite offensive line with a running back who can get those tough yards, okay, on 3rd and 2, that's what we want. And if we have a trio of 3 or even 4 running backs that are going to come in, that's going to keep those running backs fresh. And that means they're going to be performing at a high level throughout the whole game, and especially in that all-important 4th quarter.
Yeah, so, he's 5'11", 205, so he does have meat on the bones. But if he's striving to be a power back, you can get your weight up a little bit, as long as it doesn't affect your 40, too much, which he's speedy for 205, so it shouldn't. But why do I like C.J. Campbell Jr.? So he transferred from Florida Atlantic, Florida State the year before, which is historically a very solid football program. But last year with Atlantic, 165 yards, 165 carries rather, 844 yards, 5.1 per carry, 11 touchdowns, receiving 40 catches, 466 yards, 11.7 per carry, 3 touchdowns. But you know what stat impresses me the most, Adam? 0 fumbles. Guys, DT, right? We got DT. He had 0 fumbles. C.J. Campbell, 0 fumbles. I don't know Raymond's stats off the top of my head, but, I'm hoping as a power back he didn't have too many fumbles last year, if any.
Well, that's incredibly impressive, I got to tell you.
Very.
C.J. Campbell, like you said, some impressive stats last year. And if you look, at some of the games, Tulsa, 15 carries for 100 yards, 6.7 yards per carry average, and a long of 58 yards. Charlotte, 21 carries, 150 yards, 7.1 yards per carry average, 1 touchdown and a long of 58. Against USF South Florida, 12 carries, 90 yards, 7.5 average, and 2 touchdowns and a long of 30. So he's had some games where he's shown he's consistent, he has breakaway speed, and he doesn't turn the ball over. And you combine those 3, and you have another addition to that running back core that's getting me closer to saying that word, elite.
And you know what? 2 things. Number 1 is he's, I guess, starting because he's the hybrid back, and, Raymond is situational, which Raymond was somewhat situational last year, but Monangai was also a power back at heart. So we didn't get to see him too much unless he was starting. But, with CJ as the hybrid back, we're going to see him 1st down, 2nd down, 3rd down, 4th and 3, 4th and 2, 3rd and 5. But, who knows?
Yeah, and when you got 4th and 2, 4th and 3, and you're going to run the ball, you need a running back who's fresh, okay? Yeah. And we're going to have that depth, and depth is a key at every position. We have it at running back. We have it at wide receiver.
Yeah.
We have it on the offensive line. We don't have it at quarterback yet, but I don't see Ethan getting hurt this year. Well, let's hope he doesn't.
We don't really know if we have depth or not because we don't see those guys out there really.
Yeah, that's true, but I'm always wary of putting a backup quarterback into his first game ever in a competitive Big Ten. But generally, fair. The offense looks good, and the defense, which we're going to tackle in a future show, is showing a lot of promise. So, all right, C.J. Campbell, Samuel Brown the 5th. Am I correct?
You are correct. And what's great about this running back core is you mentioned how promising it is, but it's not our identity like it was this past season. So they're just there to help us hopefully take some stress off of Ethan and the wide receiving core and Colin Weaver.
Yeah, because last year was a really running back heavy with one running back. Now we've got a
Yeah.
deeper receiving core, an experienced quarterback, a deep running back room, and an offensive line that is going to be elite. So it's going to be an exciting year to watch Rutgers offense. And
Hopefully,
that's
we're transitioning from Derrick Henry on the Titans to the Lions with that Sonic and Knuckles.
absolutely, absolutely. And unlike what Austin said, I do not believe Gabe is a secret Oregon fan, although time will certainly tell.
Hey, I don't mind Oregon. I got no vendetta against them, you know.
Austin might be
But
right.
you won't see me quacking anytime soon. So
Excellent. Well, that wraps up our segment on the running backs. So we've tackled the offensive line and we've tackled the running backs. Let's go to
you
our
know what?
third.
Tackling the offensive line is all that these pass rushers are going to be doing when they face us. They're not getting past it.
I hope so. I cannot wait until the season starts. What are we about 3.5 months?
Oh, if only I had Jackson on board. Jackson Johnson, shout out to him. He calls into I forget the name of the guy. He calls into a show every single day and does a daily countdown of how long it is until the season starts. It's Paul Feinbaum from ESPN.
Yes.
Yeah,
Feinbaum.
Yep. He calls in every day and tells him how long it is until college football is back.
Daily countdown. We're waiting. It's a long off season. But let's turn to our third segment tonight. And this segment is about the transfer portal, which opens on Wednesday. 2 transfer portal windows. This is the spring one. So, Gabe, when you look at the transfer portal now, what needs does Rutgers have, and what would you like to see them? What positions do you think that they should be looking for?
Well, it all comes down to depth. We don't need any more starters. I think our starters are set. But what we need is depth on the offensive line, and we need some depth on the defensive line. Let me get into it. Left guard position. We have Brian Felter, senior. He is starting. Dante Chin, junior. He is back up. But everywhere else besides right tackle, we have no underclassmen, or we have underclassmen. Now, with left guard and right tackle, we have 2 guys, but no underclassmen. With right tackle, we have senior Shedrick Rhodes Jr. He is backup, and then junior Taj White will be starting, assuming that Ty Needham doesn't go to tight end or something. But so it's just tough because we don't have any underclassmen. There's no reason to get transfer upperclassmen because we're looking for a sophomore, really, who can come in, take a season, be backup, come in if needed, which hopefully he isn't needed, and then be a starter for 2026 and 2027, hopefully, unless he transfers again.
Absolutely. Yeah, what I'm thinking in the transfer portal is at this point, I don't think Rutgers has too many pressing needs in the transfer portal. I think they should go for quality over quantity. And I think they should focus on getting another potential starter on that defensive line, or simply just adding depth to that defensive line and getting another cornerback. To add depth.
Specifically with the defensive line, Daryl Denegohi, sophomore, but the rest are seniors. We have 5 total inner defensive linemen. It couldn't hurt to recruit some interiors to beef up the D-line because we have our outside guys set. It's just the middle guys, and unfortunately, that's the second most injured position behind running back. So we need some more depth there. So when you say quality over quantity, we definitely do need quantity. Just don't know if we need quantity that – we'll need guys regardless, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. I mean, I would say yes, certainly it would be nice to have quality and quantity. And I think where we need it is on that defensive line because what killed us last year, particularly the defense, was the injuries. And 8 starters were injured and missed the season. If that happens again this year, it's going to be a repeat of last year, if not worse. So I do agree. Yes, quality, but also we need bodies there that are going to be able to mitigate the effect of injuries, but also provide, valuable depth. And
for sure. I mean, so there's 2 things. So I was thinking about saying we need another guy in the secondary, but I feel like we have enough depth, like sort of scattered around, right? You have for the right cornerback, you have Bo Mescal and Al Shaidi Salam, and there's no player 3 or anything like that. But then you go to left cornerback, you have Jacoby Henderson, Kevin Levy, who, by the way, is a freshman, which is great. And then you also have Zalon Williams as the third guy there. And Zalon could sort of shuffle, or if Kevin Levy could fill in when needed for Bo Masco. And then you also have 3 nickelbacks. So I think we have plenty of secondary depth overall. We have 6 safeties signed with the team. I just, you might see one hole, but then realize that it could be plugged in elsewhere.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the last thing I'll say on the transfer portal is,
sure,
I think we need another linebacker.
Okay.
I think we need depth in that linebacking core.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about them too much, just about Jabomi.
Yeah, and Jabomi is just a fantastic linebacker. But when we cover this in future episodes, maybe we can discuss, what kind of player do we want in that linebacking core to give them the kind of depth we need and, to mitigate whatever injuries may occur.
And this might be nitpicky. Well, I do have one more talking point after this. So,
yeah, of course.
Our good friend Austin here might have to wait just a few more minutes. But so when it comes to the transfer portal, one more thing specific to our team, and then something branched out a little bit because there was some big news a few days ago that, sort of someone thought they were pioneering something, but it kind of backfired. We'll get into that in just a bit. But for us, we only have one punter, and you'd think that's a problem, right? But we have 3 place kickers. So hopefully one of them could replace Jacob Anderson if he goes down.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
Hopefully we don't need any other punters because we have 4 people who can kick the football.
Yeah, but, you never can have enough depth. I will say that. But I think Rutgers has put itself in a good position through what it's gotten through the portal thus far and through its recruiting. They've done a great job. And that's why they're in the 30s in their recruiting class. Very impressive for a school that traditionally, was not elite in that area. So great job, Coach Shiano, and great job to his staff.
We played some real money ball.
Yeah, and they're building a team that is not only filled with talent, but they're building a winning culture. And they're building a culture of accountability and those old school values of perseverance and learning from failure and toughness.
Yes.
Which is
I know that our coach would handle a situation like Nico Iamaliva presented very similarly. Now, look.
I would have thrown him out.
Circumstantially, I get what he was trying to do. You see contract holdouts in the NFL. You see them in the NBA. Fine. But the thing is, and Micah Parsons actually said this on his show, and I don't tend to agree with Micah Parsons on a lot, but I will say I agree with him in the sense that college is about establishing culture, what you're good at, what you're not good at, and setting you up for success. Unless you're in Denmark, you don't hold out on school because you want to get paid.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And there's a few things I'll say about that. Number one, I value players who are loyal to a program, especially a program that was paying him $2.4 million per year. I don't value players who, before the college football playoff even begun last year, apparently Nico was threatening to hold out of the playoff if he didn't get more money. Then the season ends, and we find out he's not even going to practice on Friday because he's holding out for more money, and he's not even that good. So
guys weren't even getting paid 5 years ago. You should be happy with anything.
And that type of selfishness and me attitude, that type of narcissism is precisely the opposite of the values that I've been speaking about this whole show. I find it to be disgraceful, and I wouldn't want someone on the team who is thinking about me instead of team, and who isn't appreciative of the fact that they are millionaires when they're not even 20 years old yet and are trying to, if they want to try to build value for themselves, it goes back to those intangibles. NFL teams want to see players who have grit and determination, who are loyal, who stick with their teams through tough times, and aren't always thinking about how much money is in their pocket, but how much wins are showing up in that win column for their team. And he doesn't have those values in my view. And I don't. I say good riddance and good choice by Coach Heupel getting rid of him.
Yeah, and UNC and USC already declined basically to interview him or go after him. I mean, Bill Belichick, could you imagine how much he would grill into him if that ever happened at UNC?
Bill Belichick would never take him. Bill Belichick is from the Bill Parcells School of Football. They would have thrown him off the team. USC doesn't need him. They have a good starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Could UCLA go after him? Possibly. But whatever UCLA or any team that decides to take him is getting is a lot of baggage. And that's not good for the team or the team culture that you want to build. So
yeah. And I mean, It's just interesting because he didn't even have an agent and he did that.
He had bad people advising him, and I suspect those people may have been within his own family.
They were. I mean, well, I guess allegedly, right? We don't know the
allegedly. These aren't facts we can prove, but this is what's being reported.
Yeah, and I mean, don't blame the messenger, right?
Exactly. So, that wraps up our 3 segments on the offensive line, running backs, and transfer portal. Before we go, though, we've got one of our special callers here at Rutgers at the Voice of College Football. Again, if you like the show, hit that like and subscribe button. Austin, always great to see you, buddy. Thanks so much for being here. How's it going?
How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. Happy Monday, gentlemen. My favorite part of Mondays, calling in and talking some Rutgers with you guys.
We appreciate you. Thanks so much.
So I was sitting back here listening to your all's conversation about the transfer portal and this NIL situation. Fellas, I hate to say it, but I feel like this is the new era of college football. We're just going to have to get used to these players being about me instead of team, because we're in an era now where they look at the dollar signs instead of looking at the ultimate goal. And I'm with you, Adam and Gabe. Like, I would be more for the team, because if you win a national championship, your name is going to be in the history books forever. You're going to have a legacy. Whether you were a starter, a second stringer, or a bench warmer, you will be a national champion forever, and no one can ever take that away from you. Yeah. And I feel like we're in this era now, in the transfer portal, where it's whoever's the highest bidder now, not about values and what do you bring to our team. It's about, oh, you're going to pay me more? Sold. I'll be there as soon as I can.
So you're saying it's an auction?
Basically, because, like, for example, Cam Miller, let's say he gets a better offer to go somewhere else instead of Rutgers. He wouldn't be on your team right now.
Don't say that.
Yeah, those are good points, but my problem is this. College football just isn't about winning games. It's about preparing these kids to be successful after football and in life, and that means teaching them the right values. What values are we teaching them when they're permitted to go anywhere they want, almost whenever they want, and their primary motivation is money? That's not setting them up to have the intangibles to be successful in life, because life is difficult. Life has its ups and downs.
Yeah.
These kids don't learn how to deal with difficult circumstances and adversity and to persevere through difficult times. They're not going to be successful in the field and in life. And they're not even facing adversity. He's being paid $2.4 million a year. And if he handles his money right, he'd probably be set for life. But instead, we're turning college football on its head, not as a sport that produces great players and great people, but as a sport that focuses solely on the individual and their monetary gain. And I think that that's bad for the kids in the long run.
I mean, it's bad in the long run, but I do think NIL, it's a good thing. It just needs to be monitored. And they basically unleashed the beta version without testing it first. And
yeah, NIL is not a bad thing, but NIL was meant to be that these kids could profit off their name, image, and likeness.
Yeah. Yep.
Not that collectives could essentially buy players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm with you guys. And Gabe, you brought up a great point. And I try to tell people this, but NIL has its good and its bad, like anything else. Like, the good part is, like, if you're on the new NCAA football game or if you're on a poster or magazine, you get paid for that. Your service is being paid. Your image is being put out there. Like, Ethan will get paid for being put on a video game cover, which is cool and a dream in itself. And I don't mind players getting paid for that, because that you're giving them a good, because you're going to sell this video game and be like, Ethan Kaliak McManus is the new cover star for the NCAA 26, and you want people to buy the game. But the bad part is the Nico situation, like we're talking about. And that's the problem with the transfer portal, because that's where it comes in and hurts teams, especially if you're a team like, say, a Rutgers or a Louisville, where you don't have the money of the Alabamas, Ohio States, the Michigans, where you could just buy anybody.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about this is there's enough people complaining that this isn't the permanent solution. Do I think NIL is going to stay? I think it should and it will. but I think it'll be a lot more monitored. And the board of governors, they'll pass something moderating it very soon.
I hope so, because this is, like everyone has said, the Wild West, and the NCAA has done nothing about it. I don't know if the NCAA will ever do anything about it, but it has to be regulated so that the kids can get the benefit of providing their goods and services for money, but not having a situation where they're being paid millions of dollars to sign with the team. That's not what NIL was envisioned to effectuate, and it's not something that's good for the kids or college football.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. And speaking of the transfer portal, on a better subject, off this NIL stuff, because it's just a Debbie Downer. Let's talk some Rutgers, guys, because I got a couple questions for you. So, Rutgers last year dealt with a lot of injuries, and the transfer portal could be used to, quote unquote, band-aid it up a little bit. Do you all think, like, God forbid Rutgers would, no, I don't want anybody to get injured, but if worst case scenario, what positions do Rutgers needs to sure down, like if the injury bug hits, that you're not so confident that they filled properly? What positions do you feel if an injury happens that they need to go in the transfer portal and sure up?
Well, going in the transfer portal, just the positions I mentioned before, the left guard, right tackle. I mean, you could fill in someone else from another position, like left tackle, right guard, even center. You could shuffle everyone around. But, I mean, as it comes to getting guys, I really don't think they're going to get anyone outside of maybe a nose tackle, defensive tackle that would actually see any time on the field next year or next season. I really just think they would get guys that are younger, looking to kind of establish themselves long term, and they have a good agent that'll tell them, go to this school and you'll have a great junior year, great senior year. But I don't think they're going to get anybody that like would actually see the field unless there were more than one injury, but like 2 or 3.
Yeah. And before I get to that, I see a comment that UNC currently has 2 verbal commits that were highly interested in Rutgers, but opted to not commit or decommit because of money. There you go. That's the problem right there. A great comment. Austin, I think in response to your good question, the answer in my view is defensive line. We cannot suffer too many injuries on the defensive line or at linebacker. So I would be looking to add some depth to the defensive line with quality players that may not be seeing the field that much, but can be good situational players and can rotate in to give Rutgers depth on the line and to also keep the starters as fresh as possible.
Mm-hmm. Because there's going to be games, hopefully, this year, to your point, Adam, where Rutgers is blowing someone out of the water like 52-0, and you want to get the backups in, and you want to kind of get them a little run, like, let's see what you got, kids.
Sure.
And that's what that could be good for. But go for it, Adam.
Well, I was going to say, and it's not just looking at this year, it's looking at the future. If we get some commits in that we can develop, that get some experience this year, but can have potential to start in 2026, 2027, that's important. And I think that depth in the defensive line linebacker is going to be the key to this season if injuries hit.
So you think a 4-3 or a 3-4?
You're asking me which I favor?
Yeah, because we have starters. We have 4. We have only 2. Oh no, we only have 2 positions listed for linebacker. Wide linebacker, middle linebacker, and
I'm a 4-3 guy.
There's 8 guys, but I mean we have a nose tackle and a defensive tackle listed, so it seems like we're going to be running a lot more of a 4-3. So if that's the case, then we absolutely need more guys on defensive tackle, nose tackle. But if we run more of a 3-4, which I don't think is the case, but if it is the case, we might need another wide linebacker or mid.
Yeah, I'm no fan of a 3-4. It's
Mm-hmm. And the thing too is, kind of when you talk about needing DTs, here's my thing. If Rutgers gets thin at that position like they got last year, they looked like suspect at best when they were healthy, in my opinion. You all may disagree, but when they were injured, they got exposed heavily, especially in that bowl game. And I know a lot of opt-outs and backups. How much merit do we really take into that? But that should be a wake-up call for the coaching staff to be like, hey, I understand these are all young guys. These are the backup third stringers. But hey, maybe in the portal we need to start looking, as Adam likes to say, for the beat, because that was unacceptable. Rutgers scored 41 points and still lost.
I mean, that's part of the reason why we got him and why we got 9 more guys to start on the defense, is because we got exposed on defense. And it's the reason why we have 4 middle linebackers, 4 wide linebackers, and then we have we have 11, 10 secondary guys. It's because we got injured and we got exposed.
Yeah, and injuries should never be an excuse. I know Coach Shiano never makes excuses for that. No. But when injuries have such a pronounced effect on the performance of the team on the field, that tells you right there the depth is really lacking, because the drop-off shouldn't be so significant that it costs us games. And unfortunately this year it was. And I think that Coach Shiano, his staff, and the players, I think they got a little chip on their shoulder this year. And that's good to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll say this too, guys. I appreciate you for having me on.
Of course,
it was a pleasure.
Absolutely,
and as always, go Rutgers, guys, and go Cards.
Go Cards, go Rutgers. Thanks for calling. Always great to talk to you. And that is Austin, one of our great callers. Always happy to have him call in. And we have another caller. We have Dan the Diesel Freak coming on. First time calling on the show. Dan, welcome. We're happy to have you here. How's it going?
Hey, Adam. What's going on?
How are you?
Not too bad. And actually, there's something I need to get off my chest to you.
Okay.
So, do you know Caden the Man?
This sounds like Caden the Man.
Well,
am I correct?
This is the guy who portrays Caden the Man.
Okay.
See, Caden is actually not my name. My real name is Dan, a former D2 high school athlete who played high school football.
Okay.
But mainly this farm channel, this is my main channel where I was bugging y'all, annoying y'all. Caden the Man was scripted.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, I appreciate the honesty, Caden or Dan. I'm gonna tell you, I love your calls on the Voice of College Football. Always stirring up controversy and giving honest opinions, and we appreciate that. It makes things fun and it makes us think of things from different perspectives. So, hey, it's all good, man.
I just want everybody to know, my actual name is not Caden, and nor am I the most hated Ohio State fan on YouTube. Okay, that's
you're not the most hated. Not at all.
No, I'm just saying, that's what I call myself, as Caden the Man, the most hated Ohio State fan on YouTube.
Are you in Ohio?
Like I said, this is the way I portrayed Caden is scripted. Okay.
Yeah.
I did everything in script.
Okay, well I'll tell you, it's pretty genius, man, because I've always enjoyed your calls. They're just they make the show so entertaining. So I give you credit for that, man. And thanks for letting me know your real name now.
I feel like I'm on like a Netflix drama. Like some crazy reveal just happened.
Yeah, this is great stuff.
Well, everybody knows now my name is not actually Caden. Everybody, even Mark was having trouble, saying, "Hey, Caden, what's going on?" I'm like, my name is not Caden. My name is Dan, damn it.
Are you an Ohio State fan, or is that also part of it?
I am an Ohio State fan, but not as much as I like to. But,
Yeah. You like
things happen.
Feathers, I get it.
I love this script. This is genius on your part, because you have contributed so much value to the shows when you call in, because the calls are funny, they're entertaining, and they challenge people. So, and I appreciate that you chose Rutgers at the Voice of College Football for the big reveal. That's badass, man. We thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I figured, I know you've been asking Mark the questions about, who's Caden the Man? Like, who is he? Like, where is he? I've heard on social media, Mark Rogers, if you didn't see, I posted a clip. If you go to my channel, Caden the Man 6, or I should say now, what was Caden the Man 614? Go on my channel. There should be a link to a 15-second like little cut scene that I did that I cut
Right.
of Mark Rogers saying normal callers. Now let me just be clear. That call is as Caden the Man, okay? That
Yes.
was because I planned it out. I planned this whole thing out.
That's brilliant.
And let me just say this: I'm taking Mark Rogers just took every second of just knowing that he was going to knowing that he didn't know that it was scripted yet. I didn't tell him.
Right. That's brilliant. And some of those calls were some of the funniest calls that we've had on the show. And the fact that it was scripted, man, you're very creative. And I think that I look forward to future calls that you make to Mark as Dan. That will be interesting.
Are you at Amazon right now?
I work for Caterpillar Construction Equipment, which you'll be seeing more vlogs of, and you'll be seeing the day in the life vlogs of Caden the Man coming soon of farming season. So be sure to stay tuned, folks. You will be seeing more. Subscribe to my channel. Hey Adam, if you want to do me a favor, go on to my channel. It's what was Caden the Man 614. Post my channel link down in the comments.
Yep.
So everybody can subscribe, because I will be posting some cool farm videos, and not only farm videos, a day in the life of a second shift employee here at Caterpillar Construction's warehouse in the state of Ohio.
All right, man. We'll appreciate it. We'll do. And we always appreciate you calling in, and hope to see you again, man.
Hey, well, I'm not a hard man to find. I will be still doing my usual Saturday and Sunday shows, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So don't miss out. I've got more special stuff coming up, and even a Hall of Fame ballot Q&A with a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Now, this is just my opinion, a Hall of Famer, but y'all can question about it all night, but I'll leave it to you fellas.
All right. Thanks, man. Thanks so much for calling, and hope to see you again.
Hey, well, like I said, I ain't a hard man to find.
All right. Thanks, man. Have a great day. All right. So that was Dan calling into the show. We appreciate it, and we appreciate the fact that he revealed his true name. Always has some very entertaining calls at the Voice of College Football. We hope to see him again here at Rutgers at the Voice of College Football. Well, that wraps up our show here for tonight. Unless you have any final comments you want to make, Gabe?
Nothing crazy. Just want to reiterate that, we've had this sort of optimism about this year. We had DT come on and talk about how awesome this year could be. And now we've had Coach Flaherty say his remarks about how this year could be a really good year. So I'm hoping that it all stays true, and go Scarlet Knights.
Yeah, go Scarlet Knights. We're excited for this year. We appreciate all the hard work that the players and coaches are doing to make Rutgers football special. For everyone else, if you like the show, hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back here same time, same day next week at 7 p.m. Go Scarlet Knights, and have a wonderful, wonderful week.
See y'all.